But the whole notion of reading a novel, getting deeply invested emotionally into an issue, and then thinking deeply about it.
You are listening to Good is in the Details. I'm Gwendolyn
And I'm Rudy Sallow.
And this is the podcast where we learn what we didn't know in the spirit of Socrates, all with the aim of a happy life, a curious life, getting some wisdom and strengthening our critical thinking skills. Rudy, guess where I am and who I just met?
Who?
Okay, so I'm on lunch break for an academic conference for the Sartre Society, and the keynote was Professor Lewis Gordon. Just got a chance to say hello to him in person. Sorry, I had to throw that out there. I'm just excited because he's one of our top episodes of 2025. He's in the number 2 spot right after our Spinoza episode. So it was nice to be able to shake hands and say hello in person. Okay,
great.
Let's get back to the business at hand. Okay, Rudy?
Yeah, what are we talking about today, Gwen? We're talking about artificial intelligence, and we're talking about how perhaps humanity doesn't need to run for the hills or be as paranoid as the news media or parents or our employers are making things out to be, right? Because humans, it turns out, are the new vinyl. What does that actually mean, Gwen?
Isn't that the best title? When I saw that title for this book, for the first time ever, I reached out to the author and asked them to be on the podcast without actually having read the book because I loved the title so much. Human is the new vinyl. It's a great metaphor because this idea of vinyl, and then this is what he writes about. I'm sorry, our guest is Micah, and I don't know if I'm going to get the last name right here, but I'm going to give it a shot. Voraritskul.
It's Voraritskul.
This episode, his book, this metaphor, human is the new vinyl, it's so perfect because when you think about vinyl records, the scratchy sound, the imperfection, but as you both mentioned in this episode, this idea of presence, you got to get up and turn it over. There is this authenticity to it, and that is what it means to be human. And in this age of AI and ChatGPT, we're trying to scrub all of the imperfections with social media. We're only presenting these edited versions of ourselves, and we have completely robbed ourselves of what it means to be human, which is all of the imperfections, all of the quirks, like listening to music on vinyl.
That's right. And being a record collecting nerd since the age of 15, this episode meant a lot to me. As you know, Gwen, I don't fear AI. I plan on transferring myself into a computer and bettering AI with my own brain. But speaking of becoming better, the book is great. It's really fun. I do think it'll give more of a positive spin. It'll just make us feel how special humanity is on a going forward basis. And it's talking about special just really quick. You don't want to prolong the overly long chit chat, but Gwen and I, hopefully, fingers crossed, if everything works out. Speaking of music and speaking of authenticity and speaking of being present, we've been asked to attend one of our favorite bands, a big supporter of the show, The Sound of Animals Fighting. They're playing Monday evening, September 29th at the Roxy in Hollywood. And we're hoping to do some kind of a live show there. And hopefully that happens. I want to thank our friends, Rich Balling and Matthew Craig Kelly. And we hope to see other fans there. Yeah, Gwen, let's make that happen.
Yes. And our pod music, Rich Balling did. So this is kind of cool. And Rich and Matt were both guests, and now we get to go see them in their element. As guests on the podcast, it was more of their expertise. They weren't their musician selves. And so now we get to go see them in that element, and I'm really, really excited. Thank you for the invitation. Yay. Yeah, speaking of music, this is all about music. I love this metaphor. Human is a new vinyl. Everybody, you got to get this book. It'll make you feel good. And I found out about it from our previous guest, Tom Morris. And also the intro to it is written by another guest of ours who is featured in Philosophy Unplugged, and that is Aaron Simmons. So let's talk about all of the quirkiness and imperfections that make being human beautiful and exciting and something to value. Human is the new vinyl. Your book is just at perfect timing. The New York Times just released on the Daily this deep dive into people looking at ChatGPT and thinking that it's sentient and getting just completely sucked in. In education, I have got an uphill battle with
Huge.
convincing students that it is worth their time to read the material themselves. I even kind of tested, I was working on an essay and I really enjoyed a true crime book. As I was writing, I described his book as Agatha Christie-esque. And I was kind of curious to see what ChatGPT would do. And I put part of the essay in and asked for it to proofread and make corrections. And it removed Agatha Christie-esque. I realized it's because ChatGPT works with existing language. And that's not a word that would be in the literature. So it was
Right.
removing something that was very me because I
Yeah.
love the mystery genre. And it was the best way that I could describe why I loved this true crime book. But ChatGPT removed it because that is not what everybody says. And it was really raising the alarm bells because I could see firsthand how individual experience and voice is being, as you even said, eroded. The thing is, I think because of our age group, we can see that. But what worries me is that somebody who's younger doesn't see that.
Yeah, that's a really great point. This is right on the edge of where I'm thinking right now. And it came out sort of in one of the later chapters. I started thinking about the fact that in this Turing test, where they've got this panel of human experts trying to figure out if the person behind the curtain is a machine or a human being, right? Or in the other room. So they ask all these questions and they don't know if it's a GPT giving the answer, if it's an LLM giving the answer, or a human being. And they have to decide, they have to vote, is this person human? Well, before it was relatively easy for humans to come out the winner. In this test that was done at UC Berkeley, or it might have been Cal State, I forget, but ChatGPT won like hands down 67% of the time. 67% of the responses were rated more human than the actual human being in the room. And I started being like, what in the hell is that? And then I was like, you know why? Because ChatGPT and all the LLMs, they're not a single human. They're not an individual human. They're a superhuman or a suprahuman, if you think about it that way. In other words, they're like a billion humans in one. It's like trying to describe what someone's voice sounds like. Do they sing off key? Yeah, sometimes. I mean, everybody, gets a little pitchy from time to time, even professionals. Or comparing them with a mass choir where all of the voices get homogenized into one perfect tone, right? And so I was like, well, yeah, you can't compete in pitch between a person and a choir. The choir is always going to be in tune because you have 100 singers. So even the ones singing out of tune get drowned out by the ones singing in tune. So I started thinking about this idea like, yeah, one of the issues about large language models having more and more influence over what students think, what students write, what we write, even over our emails and everything, is sort of this massive homogenization of human expression. So when you have an outlier like Agatha Christie-esque, that is very Gwendolyn. That's how your brain thought of it. But it's like, it's going to just smooth those edges out, right? It's going to become something slightly different and slightly more homogeneous. You're absolutely right.
Let's get to the music part because
Okay.
your analogy of vinyl, and this is what I knew would really grab Rudy's attention. It brought me down memory lane because as you were just talking about vinyl and records, I was thinking about
Mm-hmm.
the first one I had and then the shift to cassettes and then even CDs. But even with cassettes, the excitement about getting, the cover art and being able to take out and look at all the lyrics and everything. And there was so much joy in
Yeah.
that, or even making your own tape, like listening to the radio and trying to record so that you could
Yeah.
get your own song, or making a tape for, a friend or a crush, being like, this is what I
Yes.
think. Yeah. So let's talk about the trajectory of music, because something that hit me was that you were wondering if the digital download, even when it kind of sounds like the vinyl, is something being taken from me. I like old jazz, and it made me think about, I have some jazz songs on my playlist. Like I have Ella Fitzgerald, and
Mm.
I realized as I'm driving and when it comes on and it's sandwiched between other songs that do
Mm.
not fit that genre. But when I listen to it, it's just not the same. For some reason, I don't want to listen to it in the car. I don't know what's missing. And I think that what you said, you kind of nailed it, that it's
Mm.
not just the song, there's more to the experience.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot there, Gwendolyn. I mean, I remember buying cassettes at record store. I didn't buy vinyl because I was into cassettes, and then that was my time period. My brothers had vinyl. I had cassettes, and then later on it was CDs, right, for me until Napster happened. And then we were all like MP3s like crazy. And then all the legitimate digital downloads came. But I remember getting a cassette, and when I would be so thrilled if I opened up the cassette thing and it was like fold out, and you're like, oh my gosh, they have all the lyrics here. You get this experience of unwrapping it. You hold it in your hand. You can bite it. It's like, it's a real thing. Part of the experience is putting it in the cassette player and pressing play and hearing it. Cassette players, they were like archaic, right? It's like making sparks in there and stuff. It's crazy. But part of the experience was just that all of it. It's hearing it go when you first press play, and the playhead is engaging with that vinyl tape. It's friction. There's like literal friction happening. That's a part of the analog experience. I think that you can't get that with digital. And that's where when digital music first came out, a lot of people were talking about how vinyl was so far superior. And what they were talking about was, the friction of the needle in a microgroove making these perfectly natural sound waves. There's something in our body, in our physiology that gets that, right? And when you digitize it, it becomes something slightly different. And it's really hard to tell the difference. Like if you play two songs, a digital song and an analog song, it's really hard to tell the difference from a listening standpoint, but you kind of can. Even if you can't, if you know that you're listening to something on vinyl that is legitimate physical copy, it makes an experiential difference. So much of what you know from philosophy is that's a huge part of life. Even if you can't tell the difference, if you know the difference, then it makes the experience better. If you have two cookies and one was baked by your grandmother or someone you love, and another one was baked at a really swanky cookie company, the one from the swanky cookie company might actually taste slightly better, but it's not better. The one that your grandma made is better, right? And it's because you know. And even if you couldn't tell the difference between the two cookies, just knowing, hey, my grandmother baked this for me, that's a better cookie. I think a lot of it is in knowing, and the experience becomes better because you know.
I really enjoyed in your book and kind of doubling down on this point, something that I think is vitally important. And when it comes to vinyl and it comes to smartphones and it comes to the massive amounts of distractions that we have. I mean, I think everybody and their mother literally is being diagnosed with ADHD these days. And there are studies coming out saying that smartphones and the swiping and everything is jumbling up our brains. And I'll be the first to admit, I'm sure I suffer from that. But what you wrote in your book about what vinyl forces you to do because of the way that you have to listen to vinyl. It's at home, got to put the needle on the record, got to turn some speakers on typically, and you got to be present. It's meditative putting on a record. It's intentional when you put on a record. I'm going to set aside some time and I'm going to focus on this album and I'm going to try not to do anything else. I've already put in the effort to be home, set aside some time. Presence is so important, and having presence. Usually these days, everyone's watching TV or entertaining themselves and they're multitasking, looking at the phones, looking at the computers, or working and watching stuff. But vinyl, I think one of the reasons why the nostalgia exploded and it stayed popular, although it never went dead for me. I'll talk about my passion for vinyl in a minute. But I think the key word that you nailed in your book was presence. Speak about that. When I think of vinyl and being present, and in the very, very, very rare times that I use AI, I'm not being present. I'm only using you, AI, for one distinct thing because I don't have time to do X or I don't have time to do Y. There's a rush to it. That's where I think a big dichotomy is for me. Now, people would probably take a different approach. They go to AI and they're like, I'm going to save time so maybe I can go listen to a record, or maybe I don't know, but I have a different mindset when I'm approaching those two different things. What are your thoughts on that? Does it all come down to the individual, or is there something inherent about vinyl and AI and how you use them?
I think if the question is about presence, you bring up really a great point. Vinyl as a medium is really a pain in the butt. It's brittle. You can't take it anywhere. It doesn't travel well. If you step too hard on the floor, like the record will skip. It's a very tenuous relationship. And as great as technology is, you have to flip the record over in 22 minutes. 22 minutes, that's all you get. 22 minutes aside. Like, can't we do better than that with technology? No, that's what it is. So you got 22 minutes. And then you know what? If you want to hear more music and not just your thing going, then you got to go and flip the record over to get the other 5 songs or whatever. And so it does demand that you stay there with it. And part of why all of this caught my attention was like in 2019, I realized, oh my gosh, I am so distracted all the time. I'm distracted from my distractions. I'm like, I cannot be present in any moment. So I decided to do 2 things in 2019. I decided I was going to cook dinner from scratch 300 times that year. That gave me about 65 nights off in a whole year. And I accomplished that goal by October, or it was like into November of 2019. But I didn't really know how to cook. So I went and I sous chefed and prep chefed in all my friends' restaurants. I have a ton of friends who have restaurants in Richmond, Virginia. And I was just like, hey, can I go cut up potatoes with the amigos, and just hang out with whoever's there? And they were like, sure. And so I would just go and I'd figure out how they ran a commercial kitchen and how they cooked, how they put things together. I would get recipes from them. And then I would go home. And what that forced me to do every day, starting at about 2 or 3 o'clock, I had to be like, okay, what crap do we need to go buy today? Because it's not like I'm getting a box out and making a hamburger helper. I'm going to make it from scratch, meaning not like milking the cow scratch, but I'm like putting everything together. I'm not buying anything that's pre-made. So go to the store, get groceries every day for my family. So I'm thinking about them, come home, and then it took me like an hour and a half every night to cook. And then you got to clean up. But it forced all of us as a family to sit down together because they were like, dang, dad is off the rails. He's taking this really seriously. So we need to be home and eat it. And even if it sucks, we need to be like, oh, that was really good, dad. And so it just forced something that shouldn't have to be forced in our culture, which is, can we just sit down and eat together like most of the time at dinner as a family? I only have you guys in the house for 18 years and then you're gone. And then it's like, I'm begging you for a phone call for the rest of your life. I'm begging you for a phone call. Like, I gotta like savor these moments. My kids grew up so fast. They're both in college now. Every time they call, I'm like, everybody shut up. Ethan's calling. So those were precious years for me. And then the other thing I did that year was I decided I was going to write only with pencil for a whole year, unless I had to ink something on a legal document. And so I was like, well, yeah. So I was like, if I'm going to write in pencil for a whole year, everything I wrote for a whole year was in pencil, unless I had to ink it. And so I was like, I'm going to get the best damn pencil I can find. So I got these Blackwing pencils. I looked up what's the best pencil in the world, and I found this pencil revival. And they say Frank Lloyd Wright used these pencils, and John Steinbeck wrote of Mice and Men with these pencils. Rick Rubin uses these pencils, and all of these Disney illustrators. So I was like, I'm getting some of those. And I literally have boxes of Blackwing pencils all over the place now, because I literally have never gone back to writing in ink. All my thank you notes, all my handwritten notes are all in pencil. And I did that because I wanted to go back to analog, pencil, sharpen it. You can smell the cedar. You can hear the scratch of the nib on the paper. You have to write it out. And so I did that, and I've never gone back. But those are two ways that this whole vinyl revival and this idea of being present in life again. And for Gwendolyn, you like the good life is being present in the life you've got. Like every day that slips by is another day that came and went. And so for me, it was like, yeah, it's all a part of that. And the vinyl revival, and not just, Rudy, to your point of, hey, I want to get this crap done. ChatGPT is going to help me do it faster. If you're doing that to take an easy way out, fine, it's your choice. If you're doing that to make more time to do what really matters in life, because, hey, these are just disposable things that I need to get done, and I need to do them at a pretty high level. I'm not just throwing this away. I'm going to think about it, and I'm going to put a good prompt in, and I'm going to get a decent product, and then I'm going to tweak it, and then I'm going to send it off. Great. Maybe that saved you an hour. Well, go spend that hour, not doing this, but like going and being with people and living a good life.
No, that's right. And we've wanted to chat more about AI, Micah.
Yeah.
And I think we're going to be talking a lot about AI. We said this a couple of years ago, and The Economist just came out with an article that critical thinking skills and both creativity and creative thinking skills. I'm not a scientist. Gwen is the scientist because she's the master of critical thinking. And we recognize that AI won't destroy critical thinking skills, but will further weaken critical thinking skills for a number of reasons. We believe that there's going to be too much of a heavy reliance on it, and all those neurons and synapses in your brain that have built up over time to do difficult tasks, they're going to relax, and they're not going to be as sharp if you become heavily reliant on AI. And then with AI, Mike, I don't even know if you're a computer. You could be fake right now. I could literally be talking to ChatGPT. I don't really know, but I've got a pretty good idea that it's you because why? Because I have critical thinking skills, and there's a lot of things behind that. And that's actually one of the main reasons why I think our podcast is not only fun but entertaining, but actually critical. It helps we help people to keep your critical thinking skills going with asking the questions, having the conversations, meeting with people from multiple sides and having these conversations. But I think what the question comes down to is, and I think this is addressed in your book, is Rudy afraid of AI? Yes and no. I fear AI could weaken my skills, because I feel
Hmm.
like I need more discipline, and I need, in order to get a lot of things productive, I got to be very, very, very disciplined. If I start bringing in AI into a lot of that, I feel like it's going to mess me up. Do I think that AI is the biggest threat in the entire world to the world economy? I think some jobs are going to go away, and I think some jobs are going to get better. And I think that I don't even know what comes next as a result of this first kind of generation of generative
Hmm.
AI. Do we become better humans? Is there even better technology? Is there better ways to travel? Is there better health? I don't know yet. So I'm not afraid, but I'm not overly excited, primarily for my own personal reasons. Like, I'm kind of worried about it negatively impacting me. From your book, I would say you kind of take the same approach, but the way that you've approached it is very unique, with the whole looking back to the vinyl and nostalgia, and just like, hey, like, yes, vinyl was gone for a little while, but hey, it's still there and there's a purpose for it. AI kind of serves the same thing. Like, it's here, can't reject it, kind of got to embrace it. I would say that you're willing to embrace it by seeing how something as beautiful as vinyl has not gone away. Am I correct in that you are actually not afraid of AI?
Afraid in the sense that I think we're going to end in a Terminator, the movie, kind of like the machines are going to take over in the world. I just tell people that's above my pay grade. I mean, if smart people like Elon
Sorry to
Musk and
interrupt, but
yeah,
sorry to interrupt. You say that the way you say that is that's above my pay grade. So just in that statement, sorry to play lawyer here, you
yeah,
see it as a possibility.
yeah, I think it's a possibility. And that's because, by the way, this is the coolest thing. I wrote Steve Wozniak, the co-founder of Apple, on a whim and told him I mentioned him in my book, and he wrote me back and said, "Send me a copy." So, that
Congrats,
That's
was
very
really
man.
cool.
cool.
Yeah, I was like, "Whoa, Steve Wozniak!" I have an email from Steve Wozniak. So when the smartest people in the world who do these things, like Sam Altman and Steve Wozniak and stuff, when they say we should hit the brakes on AI in the early days when AI was first coming out in 2023, when I started first thinking about this stuff, that got my attention. They know a lot more than any of us know about what's happening, and if they're nervous, that makes me nervous. That's like saying the people who know how nuclear weapons get deployed are nervous right now. That makes me nervous. I don't know how they get deployed. I don't know if there's a little man in there, just lighting fuses. I don't care. It's way above my pay grade. But if they're nervous, I'm nervous. So that was part of it. But the bigger part for me was, for now, in the meantime, today, AI, it's not evil, it's easy. And easy has a way of winning in our culture. And actually, in the human superstructure of humanness, we're always looking for the easy way, right? That's a part of our nature, is to make things faster, better, and cheaper. That's just a part of innovation. How can I make this faster? How can I make it better? How can I make it less expensive so we can make more money on it, right? It's the nature of the human animal. Part of what the book does is it goes back and says, this is not a new human phenomenon. We went from hunting alone to hunting in groups because it just made sense. We can catch bigger animals if we hunt in groups. If we hunt alone, we keep dying. Every time we meet something that's bigger than us, it kills us. But if we hunt in groups, we can surround it and we can do, and then we started writing, and then we started writing on paper, and then we started everything that's happened. And we no longer ride horses to get from point A to point B. We ride horses for fun. God forbid that we stop riding horses. But riding a horse from here to Charlottesville, Virginia is a really terrible idea. And it's hard. I mean, maybe it's an awesome idea, actually. But if I'm trying to get there for a meeting, it's probably not the best way. So I think this idea is larger, that we as a human species are always going to encounter things like this. And I don't think that I'm afraid of AI any more than I think that we should have been afraid of the Industrial Revolution. And I do think it is on the scale of, like, are we afraid of the internet? Well, sure, but it's so huge that we can't avoid the internet. We're on the internet right now. Were we afraid of it when it's coming around? No, we were just curious. But what we didn't know is, no matter what we do, it's going to become a part of our life, because it's that huge. It's that big of a development in human existence, existentially, Gwen. So, like, existentially speaking, AI is going to be a part of your life, even if you don't use chatbots right now. It is a part of Google search. It's a part of it sits on your countertops, it's in your TV, it's in your phone, it's in your car. It's going to become like the Industrial Revolution. Are you afraid of that? Well, you could have been, but you would have been a Luddite, and then it just happened. You have to figure out, what are we gaining and what are we losing, and how do we stay present in it? So Rudy, as your question had to do with, are we losing critical thinking skills? Absolutely we are. If we're not careful, the biggest threat of AI right now is in education, I think. I mean, if we have a whole generation of students, and there are something like 3 billion people in that student age right now that are learning how to be people, imagine if an entire generation or two of people lack critical thinking skills because AI is easy. That is way more threatening to me than, is AI going to take over the world and launch the nuke someday or wipe out humankind? I'm like, well, I don't know. We might get to that in 200 years or 50 years, but I know that right now we're graduating class after class after class of students now who can write every paper that they want to write by using a prompt, throwing in a few cherry bombs and adjectives, and then turning it into their teacher and getting an A. And they never read the book. They don't even know what the book is about. They don't know what the subject matter is about. All they know is what the prompt was that their teacher gave them and how to put that in ChatGPT. And I'm not saying that all students do that. I'm just saying that that's certainly the temptation and the reality too, right? So that for me is the biggest thing. And so as I use AI, I have to think about, and I use AI all the time. I do tons of research with AI. I ask it questions all the time. I'm like, hey, what's the best way to do this or this or this? What's the best way to approach this situation? I've had some work situations that were really hairy. And I'm like, hey, this person says this person says this. They think this is the right way to go. This is, what? In terms of a critical thinking partner, it's fantastic. But I have to know what's up, and I have to guard against, hey, am I still able to use my brain, or am I taking the easy way out here?
Wait a minute. I'm sorry. I didn't even know this was possible. You entered into the prompts. This person said this person said that. What's like, you actually got like, sorry to be crude here, like it's almost like going on to Reddit and asking, am I the asshole here? Did you actually type into the prompt like, hey, this person said this person said that, like what's going on here type thing? Or I didn't even know that was possible in AI.
Yeah, AI is, ChatGPT and Claude, they're like law professors. They literally can parse conversations. It's insane. This isn't about writing a paper. These are critical thinking machines. I don't recommend you do this, but you could put in, let's say you're having 16 really, really fraught emails with somebody over some issue, right?
Yep.
You could dump them all in there and just be like, tell me what's going wrong here. And it'll just literally say, okay, this person thinks this and this. This is the stakes that they're putting in the ground. These are the stakes you're putting in the ground. This is where you need to come out and mediate and come out. This is the common ground between you. It'll do all that stuff. And it'll pass your law exam, and it'll diagnose your disease, and it'll read your radiological images, and it'll plan for your business for a Q3, and it'll tell you how the Dow is probably affecting your business, and it'll write your paper. Yeah.
We'll walk my kids to school because I'm telling you, that's my pain point right now. I swear to God, it's killing me.
What you're describing is, it's stunning to me, because when we lose, let's say, just the habit of reading for students. Now, I'm a bookworm, but I don't want to impose that everybody has to read as much as I do. But just basic education, just reading a book from cover to cover, that's not the same requirement now. People are reading excerpts instead of entire books. When you remove reading something like fiction, you're removing somebody's capacity to see different points of view. And so then when you're older, you need to say, hey, ChatGPT, can you explain what this person means when they write that? Because they are already out of the habit of understanding, seeing a different point of view. And that really concerns me. And if I sound just like, an old fart and it's just new technology, I think there are ways to gauge the good of technology. This was actually a quote in your book. I think the name is Timid Gabru. Is that what you quote him as saying, that a lot of times we think about ethics after the fact. But if let me give an example. Okay, so I've got my glasses here. Okay, so look at this as a type of technology. It will assist me in reading. I'm clearly not using them right now. There's nothing problematic about people being able to read better, or to be able to see better, drive at night, or anything like that. It doesn't interfere with my humanity. But when we look at what makes the human being human, these very distinct characteristics, other than opposable thumbs, but the capacity for thinking, which would involve connecting with others, laughter. This also involves engineering, problem solving. This involves creativity, music. These are the distinguishing factors of being human, and long distance movement. If a technology is interrupting those things that make us human, then that's problematic. See, the glasses, even this mug, you could say as a kind of technology, is not interfering with my capacity to be human. But, let's just say if I'm holding the mug and every time I drink, the coffee drizzles out the other side, I would say, this is not a good mug because it's not performing its function. I have to understand what the function of the mug is in order to determine if it is good or not. And so the same thing with the human being. When we really appreciate what makes the human human, then we can understand if this technology is assisting our humanity or if it's interfering with it. And so just this idea of somebody needing assistance in that level, like all the time, we're really interrupting our connection with others. And I was thinking about that in terms of art and music in your book, that what difference does it make to me if I see a piece of art that's AI generated? And I realized that maybe the artist is in part of the art. Like, is it a separate thing from the artist? And I don't think it is, because every work of art is an expression of that person's particular point of view that is unique. Every single person, from the second you were born, your location, your characteristics, there is never going to be anybody exactly like you. And so I lose a piece of myself, I think, by confusing AI art, because I am not connecting with another human being's experience. So art is not just a thing. It's an expression of a person's state of mind, environment, views of the world. Like, I just got very excited there, but that's one of the things that bothers me about using AI in lieu of doing what makes us human.
That's good. If I might respond to that a little bit, I mean, you really got my mind thinking about the idea of being human. Is part of what makes us human is our ability to think deeply. Part of, I think, what we're seeing with a lot of younger people, and we're noticing it, people more our age. I'm not trying to lump you guys in with my age. I think I'm a little bit older, but I'm not sure.
Spill the beans. I'm having a birthday in a couple weeks.
Okay.
Gwen's turning 25 again. It's unbelievable. It's been 23 years, and
Rudy's
she's
older than me.
I love that.
I'm an old soul. I'm telling you, I'm an old soul.
Yes. So
all credit goes to my dermatologist. Okay, all right, never mind.
with social media and technology and screens, my daughter could swipe an iPad before she could talk. I think about all the time how transactional sometimes this generation has become. They're transactional in that social media kind of way. Like, hey, this just takes a quick response. But it's like, wait, you're saying a lot when you write that sentence to that person on social media and you make it public. Think deeply about what you're saying to this person. And people don't do that as much anymore. And I feel like that is part of the danger that AI plays into, is this notion that people don't think deeply about what they say anymore, because they don't think deeply that much anymore, because everything in our society has become so fast and transactional. That is the problem, again, with AI, is that it's going to make thinking easier, seem easier. We're going to be delegating our thinking to something else. What makes us human is our ability to, like you said, read a novel and get into the character. The beauty of the novel, the reason the novel was a technological breakthrough in literature. Hey, let's write something that's a few hundred pages long. Nobody had done that before. They're like, that's way too long. Nobody will read that. No, it's a story. And you can get deeply invested in these characters, and you can see the nuances in their point of view, and you can see them wrestling with their demons and working out really hard things in their life in deep emotional ways. Can't do that with a short story. You can only do that with a novel, and you can only do it in fiction. The novel became amazing. You could read a novel, like one of the first novels was Frankenstein, and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm so conflicted, because this is a monster, but is he human? People are afraid of him, but he's got a heart. It's like, what is this? People were blown away. The depths of which that I can feel for and interact with this other human is really powerful. But the whole notion of reading a novel, getting deeply invested emotionally into an issue, and then thinking deeply about it is a part of what makes us human. And that's the part that I'm the most afraid of us losing with something like AI. And then the other thing you mentioned, Gwendolyn, that was interesting. So when I was first starting my movement called Verified Human, it's a way for people, really the book is about the Verified Human movement and how artists, creatives can sort of say, hey, I made the work in this kind of way. And if I agree to this pledge, I can put this label on my work and just tell the world, hey, I didn't use AI in this way to make this work. So what you're seeing is essentially authored or photographed or drawn or painted or played or recorded by me and not AI. I was bringing this concept to the chancellor of Lee University. His name is Dr. Paul Kahn. He's a great man, a great educator, a great mind in psychology, one of my heroes. So I was sitting down with him and he was listening to Verified Human. He's like, I don't get it, Micah. Like, who cares if AI makes a picture? If you got to get a picture of a girl eating pizza just for your flyer, just have AI make it, stick it on the flyer, get out the door, move on. What's the big deal? And I said, you're absolutely right about that. If AI is being used to do something that is like someone eating a piece of pizza, it is disposable. Sure, you can pay $25 for that image on Getty Images or Shutterstock, or you can just have AI make it for free. It doesn't matter. I said, but that painting on your wall is framed. That is a print of a drawing. Tell me about that painting. And they said, oh, that's ships loading in Boston Harbor in 1883 by John Stobart. I said, so Stobart is a local artist in Boston. He said, yes. I said, so he drew that picture. He created it. He said, yes. And so that's number 17 of 733. So he printed 733 of those, and you bought the 17th one. He said, yes. I said, then you had it matted and framed and hung in your office, right? He said, yeah. I said, that probably cost you like $400 or $500 to do all that, I'm sure. And he's like, yeah. And I said, okay, what if I told you I could print out a copy, exact replica of that picture, but have you and Mrs. Khan sitting on the back of that salt wagon? Would you frame, because I can do that for you, with ChatGPT, with DALL-E. Would you hang that in your office? And he said, no, I get your point. I said, no, what makes that picture special is that you and John Stobart love Boston. You love old Boston, and he has this generous vision of like a nostalgic Boston that you guys both get, and that salt house is still there to this day. You cared about that picture. John Stobart painted that picture for you. He didn't even know you, and you might never meet him, but you know what? He painted that picture for you. You cared about it. You bought it. You hung it in your office. And you have this human connection with a guy that you might never meet. And it's this generous vision of Boston Harbor in the 1800s. You can't do that with DALL-E. You can't do that with an AI.
And even with you getting the pencils and writing, and it was making me think, or you said it was like Steinbeck, right? I remember as a little girl, my dad started to enjoy collecting art or lithographs that had the signature. And as a little girl, I didn't get it. I said, what does it matter, the signature? And he said, because they'll never do it again. Then he passed away when I was young. And then as an adult, when I was going through things and found something with my dad's writing, it meant the world to me. And it's not the same thing as like something that's typed up or anything like that. I didn't get it until he was no longer around, how precious that signature was, because it's the fingerprint of our existence.
It's the fingerprint.
Yeah, it reminds me of in Plato's Symposium, there is this beautiful speech that Socrates gives. I won't go into all the weeds about it, but that we tend to think about existence as temporal or infinite, that it's this either or. We exist and then we don't exist. But there is actually a third way, and that is through creativity. So that when you are creating something, you are bringing something into the world. And even after your physical presence is gone, that thing is still there. And this could even be with, children, but it could also be with a work of art. Like you say, DALL-E, like if I'm in a museum or somewhere and I see a DALL-E, I say that's a DALL-E. Like I don't even have to read the signature. I know it. And what is that? It's not literally the man,
right?
But it's also not just an object. It is his fingerprint.
Yeah, it's his vision.
And I think this idea of easy, we mistake easy with better. Some of the things that make life good are not easy, like going and how many meals did you say? 300 meals 300. To prepare? It would have been easier to do the drive-through at McDonald's. That would have been easier, but that would not have been better. That would not have connected you with your family. That wouldn't have connected you with the ingredients, with the experience, with the failures and figuring it out. It would have been easier to do the drive-through, but it wouldn't have been better. And same thing with like exercise, or same thing with writing. I mean, how many things do we have to cross out in order to get the words just right? And that makes life good. So, AI can't replace, it can't do the thinking for me. It can't, because it's not just about the product product for everybody else. It's about my own growth. It's when I
Hmm.
write, it's so that I can figure out what's going on in my own mind. And it's exciting to kind of craft an idea or even see what it is. And this comes through in music. This can come through in design for like even engineering is an expression of a human value. And that's why
Hmm.
everywhere in the world, all buildings look different because they're
Hmm.
all expressions, even if it's objective area like engineering, it's still a human expression of what you
Hmm.
want to bridge or what you want to
Hmm.
create or what are your values. So I think that's
Love
what
that.
gets lost is the joy of your own experience in life.
Hmm.
But we're thinking in terms of how can this make me money? And that's not what it's about. So just because
Hmm.
AI can write an essay for me, that doesn't do anything for me as enjoying my life.
Absolutely. You've said a lot of incredible things
I
there.
said,
And I think,
thank you.
no, really. I think part of my book is I didn't want to write a book that was like, hey, AI sucks.
No.
You should fear it and hate it. I said AI is like lots of other things in our life that have just developed. No one person is responsible for it. It is a part of the existential experience of being human in 2025. Now we have AI. It's here. Like, don't put your head in the sand. Don't despair. Creatives, yes, this is a problem for you, but it doesn't end on a pessimistic note. It ends on an optimistic note. Because I started thinking about the fact that photo booths are coming back in New York City. I'm like, hell yes. People are paying $8 and waiting in line for 2 hours to go into a photo booth
Mhm.
in Times Square. What does that mean? To pay $8 for four little pictures on a strip? Black and white pictures on a strip? They have a multi-megapixel NASA ready camera in their pocket. Why are they paying $8 and waiting for 2 hours for a little strip? Because you can hold it, because it's a photograph, because it's a moment in time. You only got four shots, man. Don't screw them up. They got to be good. Let's plan it out. Like this one, we're going to do this, and we're going to do that. And why are all these other human things coming back? Why are people paying more money than ever to go to live concerts?
Yeah.
Right? Because AI can't perform on a stage. You want to go to the show. You want to see Coldplay. You want to hear the music. You want to mix with other people. You want to go get a Coke and slice of pizza. You want to buy the t-shirt. And so at the end of the book, I celebrate like all these ways that human things are still celebrated. My kids go to school at Belmont in Nashville. And I think it's at the Country Music Hall of Fame in the downstairs lobby. There's a print shop called Hatch Show Print. And they've been making hand screened ink posters since like the late 1800s, and they still like make the screens and print them out. They don't have a printer in there. They screen print it, and you can go through and you can buy all these historic prints from them and stuff, and they do it the old fashioned way. And you know what? They can't make screen prints fast enough. People are crazy about them. You know why? Because they're like done the old fashioned way. And sure, you could go to Kinko's and you could print off 70,000 copies of that, but you can't get it from Half Show Print, and it's not going to be ink printed. So I think in a way AI is going to, I think human is the new vinyl is a prophetic call. It is a call not to despair and say, oh my God, AI is going to like ruin education. People are going to lose jobs and artists are going to have to really contend with this. But the story is not over. The story is actually just starting, and it's already starting to shift. People are already starting to go, there's something really AI-y about that email I got, and it just feels icky. People are starting to say, that picture looks like AI made it. Ugh. And they're starting to say, hey, I really want to know that this is human. I want to know, even if I can't tell by looking at them, I want to know that a human made this, that AI made this. I want to see the difference.
So
And
true,
I
man. And
love,
I,
yeah,
the shift too, one of the main reasons why I live in Los Angeles is especially with live music, right? Like
yeah,
you're so right. I was always a live music fan, always, but it seems like I can't get enough of seeing these bands while they're still alive, live, right?
yeah.
Like tonight I'm going to see the Who's their last show in LA. Then on Monday I'm seeing Gary Newman and Psychedelic Furs. And then on Thursday, I'm seeing LCD Sound System and Pulp. And then on Sunday, I'm going to the Who's last show in Las Vegas. And people are looking at me going, dude, what's wrong with you? And I actually couldn't put my finger on it. But I think you just nailed it. It's the human connection. It's being there with other fans and experiencing the music and getting those goosebumps that you can get some of that by listening to an album. You can't really get it if the song randomly pops up on your stream, or there's something unique about the experience. And maybe what you're saying is part of the shift is as we're getting even more exposed to computer generated, AI generated things, one of the benefits or hopes or fingers crossed is the the value of human interconnectedness and being present and being within proximity of individual or other individuals is going to rise.
Mm-hmm.
And those kind of experiences, people are going to realize how rare they are.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a positive that comes out of this is, AI stripping back what we've been taking for granted is
Mm-hmm.
that human connection. The only thing I would say is about going to the Coldplay concert. You kind of mentioned Coldplay. Just make sure you say, go to a Coldplay concert wearing a mask if you're going with your affair partner. We want all of our fans to feel included here. We do not pass judgment, right, Gwen, on anybody
Right.
on good
On
as in the
anybody.
details.
No, what I love is that like okay, so this is the funny thing. So Rudy, this is a Rudyism. You cannot give this man a hug. Okay, he doesn't want anyone near him, but he will go to a crowded space with all of that noise to experience. And here I am like hugging everybody, but the idea of being locked into a space that's got a lot of sound and I don't know where the hell the bathroom is a nightmare to me. I can only think of 2 concerts. But I'll hug
In,
everybody.
in,
That man will not hug anyone except for me. I
in,
just
No-
grab one as punishment.
in November, I'm going to a secret warehouse show where John Digweed and hopefully Sasha is also playing. And boy, those people, you're really on top of each other. But no way in
Yeah.
hell would I let anybody hug me. That's disgusting.
But you know what? I saw when I was young, one of my first concerts was I saw Whitney Houston. And I was just thinking, it's the
Oh.
fact that she's not here and that she's like one of the greatest singers. And then in the 90s, I saw the last tour of Oingo Boingo. And that
Oh.
meant so much to me. Like I think Danny Elfman is just absolutely amazing. But you're right, what you're saying. It's like it's that appreciation, this awareness that we don't live forever, that there are these these moments and then yes. I absolutely love your work. I guess that's my way of saying it because I think you both wrapped it up nicely, but part of the preciousness of it is that life is precious. And so that's why even with the photo booth, those are hilarious because inevitably in one of those 4, somebody isn't paying attention or somebody gets elbowed out. And it is the messiness of capturing that moment that makes it so valuable because it's not edited. There aren't, 20 different versions. It's then you can go on your phone and fix. It's the fact that we captured this second in time of being
That's
messy
right.
and imperfect because no
Love
one
it.
has perfect 4 photos. No one.
Right.
There's
No.
always
I
one.
mean, hold on,
Rudy.
take it easy. Yeah,
Rudy's
listen,
hair always
I've got
looks
a whole
perfect.
series. I got a whole series of 4 photos, and they're all perfect. But I'm not normal.
Only Rudy. Oh, that is awesome.
Yeah, I was
That's so
also going
good.
to take issue with what she was saying about no one living forever. I also, if you listen to any past episodes, Michael, I have a plan, and
Yeah.
it involves AI. It involves
Okay.
living forever. We don't need to talk about it right now. I think we're just going to focus on the seriousness, and the seriousness is great book, great
Cool.
work.
Yes.
Really love this critical thinking analysis.
Mhm.
I think this is going to make people feel a lot better about AI and a lot better about and cautious about their relationship with AI. And we need more stuff like this tangible, something related to music. Yes, this is very Gen X. I love it. Thank you. You're part of our Gen X crew.
I am.
You're an honorary member. And
No, I'm in there. I'm squarely in there.
we love it, man. We are also, I'm not trying to exclude anybody, but I feel like we're more of a Gen X show, and your book is a kick-ass Gen X book, and thank you for writing it.
Good is in the Details is produced by Dr. Gwendolyn and Rudy Sallow. If you're enjoying the pod, please scroll down to the bottom and hit that 5-star review, leave us a rating, or get in touch. goodisinthetalespodd@gmail.com. Check out our links in the show notes so you can get your copy of Human is the New Vinyl. And be sure to go to our Patreon, patreon.com/goodisinthetdetails. I'll also link our Substack and a link for you to get Philosophy Unplugged. I also started a Pinterest. I'll link that too if you want to check it out. Thank you everyone for your support, your DMs, the ratings, the emails. We love creating this show and it's just been an absolute joy. 2025, we've got some great content and we have more just around the corner.